Today, I could not be more excited to be at the Center Court Presentation Gallery to introduce 199 Church with our good friend today, Jason Lamb. Jason, thank you so much for taking the time.
Couldn't be more excited to talk about 199 Church with you.
Awesome. So we are at 10 Mercer Street. Just a few months ago, which feels like a lifetime ago, this place was full of hundreds of excited condo investors.
Absolutely.
For the launch of 55 Mercer. That was a huge success. And we'll talk about Center Court's success shortly, but obviously now with everything going on and the social distancing, it's going to be a very different experience this time. So let's talk a little bit first about Center Court developments.
Okay.
We always say when you're investing in new condos, buying new condos, you're buying, the developer is probably a big piece of that puzzle.
Bigger than most people realize.
Yeah.
In terms of how they're going to execute and essentially take your hard-earned money and bring it to life.
For sure.
In a realistic timeline.
Yeah, and we've talked on camera a number of times.
Many times.
And the Center Court story is so important. So on our end of the table, here's what we see and here's what our clients see and why our clients keep coming back to Center Court. It's a company that's been around for 10 years. It's a company that builds faster than pretty much any developer in Toronto. Faster than any developer in Toronto, I think a lot of people will argue. You develop when you say you're going to develop. You develop what you say you're going to develop. You have a very high customer satisfaction rate. You build floor plans that are best in industry. You have amenities that are best in industry. You have lobbies that people love. So there's so many pieces of the puzzle that our clients love. But I'd love to hear about Center Court again from you.
Oh boy, well listen, I think we've done a lot. We've been in the business for 10 years. This is our 10th year anniversary, and we've brought 14 buildings to market. 199 Church will be the 15th, so that's a building every 1.5 buildings a year. We've completed, or we've represented over 7,200 suites. And the one thing that I realized very recently, and I think this is a message I shared about a year ago, is the average downtown condominium project from the start of construction to completion takes around 4.5 years on average, which is a long time. And by the end of this year, we will have completed 9 buildings, and it will have taken us on average 2.7 years.
Wow.
Again, it's just sort of executing, making sure we get to construction as soon as possible, and make sure that everyone's hard-earned money is put to use in a timely fashion, because that would have allowed you to do is invest twice.
Yep.
Right. So it's no luck.
And it's and the buildings that you're building are complicated buildings. I think back to Index. That's a complicated site in the middle of the financial district. Karma, Peter Street. Like these are not straightforward mid-rise buildings.
These are high-rise buildings. The average height is 41 stories. The average unit count is 518 units, and we're doing this in 32 months.
Yeah.
Which is
unbelievable.
And the average is closer to 50 to 52 months. So the separation is incredibly large, right? So it's all about execution, and we've got an incredible team. Really the best company in the city, and part of that has to do with the fact that we're vertically integrated. So all the fundamental pillars in development are all under one roof, and what that allows us to do is we've got this seamless process where everyone's collaborating in real time instead of waiting. So we do move very fast, as you know, and I think that's one of the biggest strengths, and that should give all of the buyers a ton of confidence.
Vertically integrated, like you just said that as a throwaway comment, but I think it's important for investors to realize how rare that is in our industry.
Correct.
Right? How many, you can probably count on one hand.
I think within one hand you can count the development companies that have all the pillars, which is construction, sales and marketing, customer care, acquisition, development. All those elements under one roof is not easy. Usually people use different consultants, and they don't necessarily align, whether it's timeline, decisions, ideas, budget, any of that. So when you've got that under one roof, you've got this cohesive machine, and which is, again, the difference between Center Court and anyone else. And again, I guess one thing I'm going to throw away in a comment is, 0 days in interim occupancy.
Yes.
Going straight to final closing, no phantom rent. So you add in 2.7 years on the dot instead of 4.5 plus another 6 to 8. It's a completely different machine, and I think we want to continue to raise the bar in what we do, and I think we've set the standard.
Yeah, and I recall using these exact words in the last time we chatted,
Yeah.
but I think Center Court make very, very, very hard things look very, very, very easy. Like the 0 days occupancy is
Yeah.
something that, I don't know a single other
We're the
developer
only
that does
one.
it, right?
As far as I know.
Yeah, and we work with
Doesn't
development
exist.
companies
Yeah.
across the GTA, and it's not something that we see anywhere else.
Yeah.
The time to construction, very, very hard to do, but
Very
it's
hard to
something you
do.
guys do time after time after time. The other thing that I really love about Center Court is sort of the amount of precision and time you guys take on things like floor plans.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You guys are bugging us and people on the ground about, okay, will the wall be better here or over here? Will this bathroom be better over here or over here? And that just, again, speaks to this sort of really laser-focused precision on important parts of the building that are ultimately going to impact how the investors are going to feel and the people who eventually are going to live in the building feel.
Mm-hmm.
So,
for us, it's about designing from inside out.
yes.
And we've identified what Church and Dundas is, the demographics, the people that will be living in our building, and I believe that we've designed the perfect building for this neighborhood in particular, along with the amenity programming. So I think this aligns very well with the corridor, which is why I think a lot of your buyers are going to see so much value. It's going to be a perfect fit in the neighborhood, and when we build this, one of our most beautiful buildings we've ever brought to market, it's going to just match seamlessly into the community. So I think we hit it spot on in terms of the unit mixes and the sizes and the price points, and I think this is going to be one of the biggest success stories, maybe in the history of our market.
Amazing. Let's talk about the corridor.
Okay.
One of the things that I love seeing is when in a marketplace that's full of marketing brand names of the condos, when a developer is confident enough in the location to just lean in with the address, 199 Church. It doesn't have to be, condos. It's 199 Church.
Yes.
And that address itself carries so much weight. You're a block from Yonge and Dundas, which is the heartbeat of Toronto. It is
a landmark.
Yeah, it's
an
a landmark.
institution, if you will.
It is Toronto's version of Times Square.
Yeah.
There's so many things about this location. I'm going to let you tell me about the location because you're much more connected. You guys have blood, sweat, and tears in this project. So you tell us about what you love about this location.
Well, when you talk about AAA locations, when you talk about Toronto real estate, the Church and Yonge corridor is at the top of the list every time.
Yeah.
And Center Court has been there since day one. Mm-hmm. This would be our 6th development or building or community in this corridor, and that's a ton of confidence in the area. But what a lot of other developers have done is they've followed us as well, right? They've followed our smart money and then also invested and poured a ton of money in developing condos in the node. And it's very clear why. Mm-hmm. Like you said, we are 350 meters to Yonge and Dundas Square, which inherently makes you 350 meters to Yonge Dundas subway station, right? And that's the epicenter of the city. It's very logical because you're the one street east of Yonge. If you go one street west of Yonge, you've got powerhouses like Bay. Then you've got University. Then you've got Spadina. So it's natural that we go east. But again, ultimately the area, why is everyone investing? Why is everyone following Center Court? Is the subway. You've got Ryerson University. You've got the financial district, which is around 550 meters away, all within walking distance. You've got the University Health Network. You've got the tech boom happening in the financial district and throughout the core. So you've got this diversification of anyone and everyone in any economic situation that you can now sort of rent to, resell to. So it's very dynamic in that sense, and that's not going to change. And everyone's going to continue to invest in this node just like we have. Yeah.
I mean, if you isolated each one of those bullet points, they're 20-minute videos on themselves.
Absolutely.
Right? Financial district.
Powerhouse, second largest financial market in North America. Like I think one of the things that we do is we're so humble that we downplay what Toronto is.
I say it all the time, right? When you're so close to it, you sort of don't realize what's going on. But the financial district is not just the financial district of Toronto. It's the financial district of Canada.
Correct.
Right? The best bank jobs, the best legal firms, the best tech companies.
Accounting companies. Tech companies are starting to take over. You're getting AAA brand new office towers, state-of-the-art being developed there. And any company that's a global company, a national company that's coming to the GTA area, they're going to gravitate towards the core.
Yeah.
Right? Because where are they going to have the employees? Where are the talent? The talent's in the core because they enjoy the lifestyle. And again, they're high-paying jobs. They're not just any jobs. So they're the best jobs. We've got about over 500,000 jobs in the downtown core today, and that's going to skyrocket. And we won't be able to keep up with residential units. So I think one of the things that the misconceptions is they see lots of cranes, but they don't see the amount of immigration and migration within the country coming into the city. You don't see it.
Well, the cranes are the supply side of the equation.
Correct.
Right? It's the demand side of the equation that is continuously outpacing the supply, and that's what we're seeing there.
And you can't build it overnight.
Yeah.
We already know there's a crisis. There's a there's not enough product.
Yeah.
And so for a developer like Center Court to say, okay, well let's get product to the market, and the city's going to approve it. It's not taking us 12 months. It's not taking us 6 months. It's taken us multiple years to bring just 400 units to the market. And that applies to every other developer, and they're taking a little bit longer on average. So it's really quite unmeetable, and it'll continue to be so as we are just such an incredible economic powerhouse, melting pot, foodie city. Like there's just so many elements to Toronto that make it so dynamic, and it's really quite timeless. You can't compare it to anything or anyone else. We are in our own sort of tier right now.
Amazing. You mentioned the word crisis. That transitions very nicely to Ryerson University, who are in a housing shortage crisis. So
it's my favorite part.
Talk to us about Ryerson.
Well, Ryerson University, as we all know, is one of the fastest growing universities in Canada.
Before you go on to Ryerson, how close are we to Ryerson?
Good question. We are 100 meters away from campus. So essentially at your doorstep. You could probably throw a baseball. And
you could throw a baseball. I
mean, it will roll there, eventually. But that's how close we are. And at our doorstep, we've got this major institution in the downtown core. And that's important because they're not going to spend their resources to build student accommodations in such expensive real estate. Right? You're in the downtown core of the country, essentially, in a lot of ways. So you've got 45,000 students that attend Ryerson University, and the story is there's 1,700 beds, which is 3.8%. Meaning that there's 96% of the students where they have to live off campus. I give you half of them live at home. That's still a big number. You're still in the 20,000s that are depending on the private sector, right? So again, to accommodate 43,000 students, we'd have to build 89 of our buildings, which is never going to happen. And Ryerson's certainly not going to do that. So they benefit greatly because through this because they don't have to do that. We're depending on your condo buyers as the landlord. And the beauty about Ryerson is that, look, it's a never-ending rental pool. And in good times and in bad times, people are going to school. And they continue to set the standard. They're opening up the law school. Right? They've got the DMZ, which no one talks about, which is this sort of digital meozone. It's the world's #1 tech business incubator in the world. And they've raised, I think, hundreds of millions of dollars. Again, no one talks about these things. But it's an institution, and it's going to grow. Like their mandate is to be the largest university in Canada, and they're doing it, very well. But let's isolate the international community, where you've got 5,700 students who are not from here. What do their parents want them to be? They want them to be as close to campus as possible, as safe as possible. So what does that leave you? We'd have to build, I think, 12 of our buildings just to accommodate the international students that need to live as close as possible, that have to rent. So the story is just that in itself is incredibly powerful. And then when you layer on all the other exciting points, which I'm sure we're going to get to, it just puts together the right story, the right opportunity that is going to diversify your clients, their headspace, and make sure that they're comfortable.
One of the things I love about the Ryerson tenant pool is that every unit type is great for this tenant pool. Whether it's a 1-bedroom for a student who lives on their own, or you've got the 2 bedrooms who co-live, even the 3 bedrooms, 3 people in a space.
That's right.
It makes every unit type desirable all of a sudden, right?
For the different tiers.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
You've got the students that are undergrads. You've got the students that are in their graduates, and they've kind of grown up and they want to be on their own.
For sure.
And I think, look, living with roommates is sort of the rite of passage, right? That's what you want. You don't want to be alone. And it's part of the experience. So
For sure.
the opportunity here is there's a massive shortage.
Yep.
You can cash in on that, or you can take advantage of that opportunity, and that shortage is never going to go away.
Yeah.
Ever. So I think that in itself, as I mentioned, is just such a powerful message.
For sure. We talked about the financial district.
Yeah.
Talked about the Ryerson. We briefly touched on the subway access, but I do want to hit on that
For sure.
because
For sure.
again, Church is 300 meters from Yonge Street, so immediately you're stone's throw from the Dundas subway, but you're also, because you're sort of sandwiched, the Queen subway is right there. So you've got two subway lines.
That's right.
We forget the connectivity already of the Dundas streetcar. That's
right.
at your doorstep.
Yeah.
So you want to go east-west, you can go east-west.
Mhm.
So you're in this pocket that's immensely connected by transit.
Yeah.
The subway is a huge draw for any landlord.
It's
any buyer,
one of the
any
key pillars of our story, but it's one of the main priorities of those that invest, right? Because as our city continues to grow, the population increases, affordability is heavily under fire. People are going to prioritize public transportation.
Yeah.
And that is timeless. That'll never change, right? It's not what I want. It's what can I afford, what's practical. But yes, we're close to 2 subway stations, very close, within 350 meters to Yonge and Dundas and 550 meters to Yonge and Queen. But it's not just that. Now you've got a cross section, which some other projects are talking about, which is the Ontario subway line, which has been approved.
Yep.
So now we're 550 meters away to a whole other subway system, and we know how exciting that is. So now you went from one of the most connected to quite possibly the most connected, and you can get anywhere in the city. So again, timeless. It's only going to be even more valuable in the future as our population increases and the demand to be connected to this public transportation infrastructure increases.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Ontario line because for those who don't know what the Ontario line is, it is the new subway line that is going to be developed downtown.
And it's not an LRT.
No, it's a subway.
It's a subway.
Subway.
That's right.
What I think is sort of lends to the subway extension is just this growth of the east side. You mentioned the Church Street corridor exploding in the last few years. Jarvis has become a very, very important street in the last few years. But as this subway is developed as well, we're starting to see all these other development pockets on the east side. Right. So we've always had the west side, but now the east is really it's exploding in a way that I think even the west side will be jealous of. Right? There's got so much happening, right? You've got
expansions from the financial district as well, right?
Yeah,
because the financial district is sort of not landlocked, but they're in a bit of a tough situation again. And you're starting to see them seep east a lot more.
Yeah,
they're gravitating towards
Google just announced
Jarvis.
Their brand new headquarters going
just south of us.
Yep, just south.
Yeah.
So we're seeing that in real time, and we're seeing the biggest company, the biggest of the biggest of the biggest companies set up shop to attract the best of the best of the best to work in their places, and this is sort of all coming together in this location. So, financial district, Ryerson University, subways. And then we could do a laundry list of everything else that you're connected to. Eaton Centre, the hospital network. Of, the best hospitals, again, not in Toronto, in Canada. Research networks, incubators. Like, there is a laundry list of things that are at your doorstep at this location. And there's a reason we're highlighting that this is the most connected address.
Right. You border everything.
Yeah.
There's nothing you don't border. And I think the versatility is what's key, because when you're going to go find a tenant, you don't have to go look for a tenant. They're going to come look for you. And they're going to line up and they're going to say, I'm a doctor, I'm a nurse, I'm in tech, I'm a professor, I'm a this, that, and the other, I'm a lawyer. And I think that gives you the ability to now choose your tenant.
Yeah.
And when you have that strength, when you have that ability, that puts you in a very strong position, when it comes to making sure that your future is being sort of well taken care of.
We've seen it with grid condos. We've seen it with 411 Church. We've seen it with core condos. And the tenant pool in these buildings is so diverse. We're borrowing from. We've got people from the financial district. We've got people from the St. Michael's hospitals. Or we've got people from Ryerson. So everything. So we're talking about all this now because we've been through it already, and we know the people that are renting in these buildings. and we know what is attractive to them, and we know what suite mixes are attractive to them. And so we're talking about this from an experience point of view.
You're very right. And again, we experience that too, which is why we program the buildings that we do from an amenity perspective and the layout. So you couldn't have been more right. Yeah.
Awesome. Was there anything else on the location that we can... Actually, there was one more thing. I always love these renderings that you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
It was a very similar rendering for 55 Mercer.
Yeah, we kind of...
And, if for somebody to get a very quick snapshot of where this is and what it's surrounded by...
Yeah. Yonge and Dundas Square.
Yeah, it's Yonge and Dundas Square, the financial district, CN Tower, Aura. So all of these important landmarks of Toronto,
Absolutely.
It's right there.
You're where everyone wants to be. And, one of our, Shalini always made a great point that I love, which is you open up any brochure, any real estate brochure, and what do? They immediately talk about how many minutes, how many stops, how many kilometers to drive to get to the core.
Yeah.
Because it always gets back to the core.
Yeah.
You don't have to do that here. You're there. You're in the heart of everything. You're as diversified as they come. So when you are able to show an image like this and you can see all the major landmarks, I think that if that doesn't sort of resonate with you and tell you exactly what the opportunity is and how great the location is, then I think you need to do a little bit more research. But it really is the key pillar, the key strength of our project.
Awesome. So let's talk about 199 Church.
Let's do it. Yeah.
One of the important messages right out the gate has been a large chunk of the suites are going to be in a really nice sweet spot that investors are excited about, and that's 50% of the suites are going to be below 650,000.
That's right.
A lot of that comes from very, very efficient, amazing floor plans. But talk to us about that part of it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think we've been monitoring the market. I think there's no one as sort of in tune with the market than us, and we identify that there's a huge segment in the market that's looking for affordability. Mm-hmm. And when you look at resale, and you compare us to our price points, which you'll see soon, you'll see that we're very close. In fact, this may be the closest you ever get to resale prices in the pre-construction realm. But having those efficient floor plans will allow us to get this really incredible price point, because we're sort of going into an age where it's not about what I want, it's what can I afford. And affordability is becoming that sort of, it's a word that gets used a lot, mm-hmm. And it's getting to the point where it's becoming dire. So for us to have the ability to bring those price points in, to have 2 bedrooms in the low 8s, to have a 3-bedroom in the million, sub $1 million, that gives you a wild opportunity.
Yeah.
And it's just compare that to resale and you'll see right away. And again, the floor plans really are the best floor plans fit for the area.
Yeah. So what I wanted to say is I think context is always important. I know you've done some work on the average price of a new condo in the core,
yes.
Different buildings, and I'd love you to share how this building stacks up against sort of some of the competition.
Yeah, no, I'd love to. We, downtown is not cheap,
yeah.
And we took 9 comparables that are all within walking distance to our site. Very successful launches by some of the biggest developers in the city. And the average price point across those buildings is just under $900,000, right? And that's a big number.
Yeah.
That shouldn't surprise anyone, but it's a big number. And when you stack that up against us, our average price is $700,000, $699.
Amazing.
That's a very big delta.
Yeah.
And what that tells you is that we're just stacked with affordable options, and that is the perfect recipe to take advantage of, because this doesn't happen every day.
Yeah.
You're never going to have this delta, and we recognize that as a developer. So the opportunity is there, the location is there, the developer brand is there, the infrastructure is there. There's really, again, I think if this doesn't resonate with you, you may not be buying real estate for a long time, because this is one of those sort of no-brainer opportunities, and I think it's going to be one of the biggest success stories, in our market today.
I think so as well. So tell us a bit about the building itself.
Yeah.
Give us the sort of bird's eye view, what to expect from 199 Church.
Well, it's again, I mentioned this earlier, but I think it's going to be one of the most beautiful buildings we bring to market, that we've ever brought to market. It's 39 stories. We house 484 suites.
Yeah.
In better words, 489 opportunities, 84 opportunities. We've got incredible amenities, again, that fit the demographic of the area very well. Shared co-working space, indoor and outdoor amenities, 20,000 square feet in total. We've got guest suites. Our lobby, again, one of the big priorities that we've had in the last couple of years is making sure that lobby is seamless, it's beautiful, and it's breathtaking. Because first impressions are everything when you're doing a showing. If you're going to rent something out, if you're going to do a resale, and you meet a client or you meet someone in that lobby, it sets the tone.
For sure.
And so when you can put something together that is elite, that is sort of elevated, there is a premium there. So I think the amenity programming is great. We're fully zoned, which
Before we go on to the lobby,
Yeah.
I know we've got a partnership with one of the luxury brands to bring in their furniture. So
not quite a partnership. We have our lobby is furnished with Fendi furniture.
Okay.
And again, we really value that opulent sort of that first impression and the quality. So it's definitely something that we prioritize through our developments is the lobby experience. And because as I mentioned, it's that first impression.
it's also the living room of the building, right?
Absolutely.
Right. So we see. Again, especially with your building, so much emphasis put on the lobby, and for good reason. It is a very important part of the building.
It is. Some would argue that it's definitely one of the top three, right? I mean, location and first impression. So I think it's important to give our investors value that when they meet their tenant and they see this experience, it's they're gonna get amped up.
For sure.
Right, and it sets the tone, first impression.
Awesome. One of the other things that you touched on is fully approved.
Yeah.
So
Fully zoned,
fully approved, ready to go. Talk to us about the importance of that and why you highlight that.
That's a good point. I mean, I think we'll never come to market, not approved. We'll always be fully zoned when Center Court comes to market, and that's just. And I think a lot of developers are going to be taking that approach because, we don't want to put our buyers in a tough position because if you're not approved, then there's a time lag.
Yeah.
We could be sold out in day one, but we can't start construction. So for us, we're going to come into this. We're fully zoned. We're ready to start construction. We're mobilized. We don't have to depend on the city to give us feedback on anything. So that's how we can go from sales launch right into construction, hit our record timelines, and then give you your product. So being zoned is comfort. It's an insurance policy that should be standard, and we definitely take that very seriously.
Awesome. Yeah, it also gives that added confidence to the buyers as well.
Yeah.
It is increasingly important.
Absolutely. No, it needs to be.
So I'm going to do my best to wrap up everything. We've got one of the best builders in Toronto with a track record that I think a lot of developers are envious of. We've got a location that is as core as you're going to get.
As exciting of a story and as prime as it's going to get you. Right?
Yeah, we talked about the financial district, connected to the financial district. We're connected to Ryerson University, or steps to 2 subway lines, and a future subway that is going to be developed, and all this infrastructure that's being developed around the site. That's not to even mention Eaton Centre and the hospital network. There's so much to love about this location.
I forget all the time because there's just so many layers to it.
For sure. And then we've got this amazing building, one of the best designed buildings that Center Court have done, with an amazing lobby and really super efficient floor plans at a price that I think a lot of investors are going to be very, very excited about.
Yeah.
Anything I missed? Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on?
I think this is just one of those opportunities that just don't come around very often. And with price points that you don't see. These price points you see in the 905.
Yeah.
And the next time you're going to see this type of price point on average, it won't be for a long time. So I think, if you believe in the market, if you want to build wealth, if you want to, put yourself in a position to have passive income when you retire, if you want to put down 20% so someone else puts down 80%, this is the opportunity that I think is that could possibly be the right one. It should be the right one, and I think they don't come very often.
Amazing. Well, we're excited. I think a lot of our clients were excited. If our clients want to invest, what do they have to do?
They're going to contact Talk Condo.
Amazing. Jason, I would shake your hand, but we'll do that for now.
Yeah.
Jason, thank you so much.
Thank
We're
you
really
so
excited.
much.
Take care.